Lexi Hull just proved something last night in unrivaled that most WNBA analysts refuse to admit. And what I'm about to tell you is going to make half the basketball community furious. But here's the reality check. Nobody wants to hear about one of the most misunderstood players in women's basketball. Because while everyone's busy debating supermax contracts and all-star selections, Lexi Hull is out here doing something that might actually be more valuable than scoring 30 points a game. And yes, I said what I said. Let me explain why the Indiana Fever might be facing their biggest offseason decision in franchise history and why one restricted free agency could determine whether they're championship contenders or first-round exits next season. Here's what happened in that unrivaled game that nobody's talking about. Lexi Hull started for Rose, BC. 7 points on the stat sheet. And if you're the casual fan scrolling through box scores, you probably thought she had a forgettable night. Wrong. Dead wrong. Because while you were watching the score, you missed the entire game within the game. Marina Mabrey is one of the most explosive scorers in women's basketball. Elite shooter, crafty ball handler, can get hot and drop 40 on your head before you realize what happened. Last night, 8 for 25 from the field, 1 of 12 from 3. Rate that again. 1 of 12 from three-point range. That's not a bad shooting night. That's a defensive masterclass that won't show up on any highlight reel.
Every company in the country would love to go viral every day for free marketing. If they knew how to do it, they'd all be viral every day. Like, you just don't know. Is it authentic? It touches people. There's a tentacle of emotion involved, and suddenly some small town kid goes viral, or a singing frog. Who knows?
And here's where it gets interesting. Lexi Hull was her primary defender. Now, before the haters flood, the comments saying defense is a team effort and nobody plays one-on-one defense anymore, you're absolutely right. But if you actually watch the game instead of checking your phone, every 30 seconds, you saw Lexi Hull turn Marina Mabrey into a frustrated mess for 40 minutes straight. 2 massive steals, diving on loose balls like her contract depends on it, because guess what? It actually does. And this is where the Fever's front office should be sweating right now, because they're about to face a financial decision that could haunt them for the next 5 years. Let's talk about what Lexi Hull actually is as a basketball player, because the discourse around her is absolutely insane. She's not a 20-point per game scorer. She's never going to be Caitlin Clark or Kelsey Plum dropping buckets from the logo. Her offensive creation is basically non-existent. If you need someone to break down a defense and create their own shot, Lexi Hull is not your answer. We all know this. But here's what drives me crazy about modern basketball analysis. Everyone wants every player to be a 3-level scorer who can handle, pass, and shoot. That's not how championship teams are built. Championship teams are built on role. Players who understand their role and execute it at an elite level every single night. And Lexi Hull has somehow become elite at something that doesn't get enough respect in basketball. She's a defensive playmaker, not a stopper. Not a lockdown defender, a defensive playmaker. And there's a massive difference that most people don't understand. Think about it like this. A stopper like Raven Johnson or Jackie Young. You put them on the other team's best player and say, go to work. They're physical. They're quick. They make it hard for elite scorers to get comfortable. That's one type of defensive value. But Lexi Hull disrupts entire offensive systems. She draws charges at A.
Really thankful for, the training staff and player development and everybody that has kind of been there with me. They haven't taken a break either, because they invest a lot of time and they want me to be successful. So I think for myself, it's not proving it to yourself again, but it's just that feeling. And I think it just made me smile quite a bit. Like, I really did kind of feel like myself out there and just continuing to get my lungs back. But I felt like I was moving really well. So
that's genuinely absurd. She goes skinny through screens, better than almost anyone in the league, which means offenses can't run there. Normal sets against her without risking. Offensive full. She turns routine. Possessions into jump balls and loose. Ball scrambles. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. You
should not make this Team USA team. Caitlin Clark destroys in day 2 of Team USA camp, looking like the best player.
Can't run specific actions against Lexi Hull without adjusting your entire offensive scheme. And if you're a WNBA coach, try to run a pick-and-roll offense, having a defender who can navigate screens without getting hit, absorb contact from both the screener and the ball handler, and potentially draw a charge. That's a nightmare matchup. Imagine you're the opposing coach. Your best player picks up 2 offensive fouls in the first quarter because Lexi Hull is out there playing defense like it's a contact sport. Now your star is sitting on the bench with foul trouble. 8 minutes into the game, your entire offensive game plan just got destroyed, and it didn't even require the other team to score.
The news? Because NBA stars, there's a lot of them, and they move the needle. The WNBA stars, well, there's one that moves the needle. And here's the other thing to remember. Caitlin Clark's already rich. She made $11 million this year alone in endorsements off the court. So regardless of how these negotiations go, she's set. Nobody else is, right? So
that's a skill. That's a legitimate, elite-level basketball skill that deserves way more respect than it gets. But it doesn't show up on ESPN highlights, so casual fans think she's just a hustle player with limited offensive talent. And yes, she's a streaky shooter. 1 of 5 from 3 last night. Not ideal. But here's the reality. When Azure is dropping 19 and Jazz is going nuclear for 35, you don't need Lexi Hull to be your third scorer. You need her to do exactly what she did. Lock up the other team's best perimeter threat. Create defensive chaos and hit 1 massive 3 late in the game when it matters, which she did, by the way. Clutch 3 late in that game that basically sealed it. But again, that's not going to trend on social media because people only care about 50-point performances and ankle-breaking crossovers. Now, here's where this gets really spicy, and this is what the Indiana Fever should be terrified about. Lexi Hull is a restricted free agent, not reserved, which means other teams can offer her money, and the Fever have to decide whether to match. And I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a team that offers her something wild. Maybe not a max contract, but something close enough that it creates a genuine dilemma for Indiana's front office. Think about it from another team's perspective. Let's say you're the Chicago Sky trying to rebuild your culture, or you're Portland, an expansion team trying to establish an identity, or you're any franchise that watched Lexi Hull's energy and effort level and thought, that's exactly what we need in our locker room. You could offer Lexi Hull $800,000 a year, maybe more, and suddenly the Fever are sitting. They're going, do we match this? Because if they match, they're locking up significant cap space in a player who's never making an all-star team. But if they don't match, they're losing the heartbeat of their defensive identity.
Jackson, who was the executive director of the WNBPA, which, by the way, you guys, I didn't realize that Terry Jackson is related to Jaren Jackson, who was an NBA player. I just found that out recently. So she's clearly been in the basketball world for a while, but she did an interview with CNBC, and I wanted to share with you guys some of her comments about the state of the current negotiations. She said, "We're a little frustrated with where we are right now, but we are holding to our principles. We're staying open to the fact that these negotiations will continue because they must. We'll be at the table for as long as they take, and we're hopeful that there's enough folks on the team side of things that will."
And here's the brutal truth that Fever fans don't want to hear. If someone offers Lexi Hull close to max money, matching that contract might be a franchise-altering mistake. Not because she's not worth it, but because of opportunity cost. If you're paying Lexi Hull max money, you can't fix your power for a problem. You're not bringing in the defensive stopper you desperately need. You're running it back with basically the same roster that got exposed in the playoffs when elite scorers like Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum cooked them in crunch time. Because here's what the Fever actually need. They need Lexi Hull's defensive chaos and a legitimate wing stopper. They need someone who can guard Kelsey Plum straight up for 40 minutes without help. They need a power forward who can defend in space and hit corner threes. They need depth, and you can't get all of that if you're paying Lexi Hull near max money, even if she absolutely deserves it based on her impact. Basketball is cruel like that sometimes. The salary cap doesn't care about effort or heart or leadership. It only cares about dollars and cents. Let me throw out a hypothetical that's going to make Fever fans panic. What if the expansion team offers Lexi Hull a max contract? $1.30 million a year, full commitment, multi-year deal. What does Indiana do? Because if they match, congratulations.
So it looked like WNBA owners has responded to the WNBA players in regard.
You just made Lexi Hull one of the highest paid players in the WNBA. And now you're hoping Sophie Cunningham can play the four, where you're praying you can draft a serviceable power forward in a draft class that doesn't have any. Marta Suarez, not the answer. Harden Garzison, not the answer. Lil Paige Blicker's not the answer. And a Soliai in the second round, probably not the answer. But if they don't match, you're letting walk a player who embodies everything your franchise is supposed to be about. Effort, hustle, defense. The kind of player who makes Caitlin Clark better. Because